yes, the situation in Alaska has changed a lot compared to what it was before, right? Number wise, cases wise, because that's thankfully you only have 3 more deaths, right, since the last time we spoke. But that's not the case in the rest of the United States, right? Alaska is far away. And as you were telling us last time, you're very lucky that you have this humongous state, beautiful state, and you are only almost 700,000 population wise, right? So you've got space, you mentioned, to social distance and to really be careful, but that's not the case for other states. We have seen increases everywhere, especially like Arizona, Texas, Florida. And I have a couple of questions about that. I'd like to hear your view, right? Because one thing is what we say abroad when we look at what's happening in the United States, and another thing is when someone that is from the United States, but is in a state that overall has handled well the pandemic and is, continues to do so. Disney World or Disneyland, the one in Florida, they're opening today. They opened today after 4 months. And Florida is one of the states that has had a humongous increase of cases and of hospitalizations. And obviously now it's the death's turn, right? Because it's just the way it is. First, you've got cases, and some of those cases are going to become hospitalized, and some of those are going to die, right? What do you think is the logic to open Disneyland, Disney World, the one in Florida?
I don't know. That just floors me. Florida, of course, has a high population of older people who are more at risk. It's a retirement state. And it's interesting to me because I have seen, for some reason, a lot of people in the what we call the baby boomer generation take it less seriously than those of us who are millennials or Gen Z or Gen X. And so it's interesting to me that they're the ones who are making probably those calls to open up and put themselves at risk. We as their kids are saying, wear a mask, don't go out, we'll do the grocery shopping, all those things, and they're like, oh, we'll be fine. And I don't know where that mentality comes from. I know a lot of them were like, grew up in the 60s where there was kind of an anti-government type of mentality, and so maybe that's a little bit of where that comes from. When you see the protest of the civil rights and the Vietnam War and all those things, you kind of don't trust your government as much, and so maybe that's where that piece is coming from. But yeah, it worries me. With Arizona, Florida, those places where a lot of our older population, more at risk population, is at. My parents live in Arizona, and their numbers have skyrocketed, but like they didn't shut down like Alaska did. They were pretty open. It was amazing to me, like the stuff that I see groups of parties without masks, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, we would never do that with 25 people. I'm like, what is happening? That's not something that we'd have here. And so yeah, it's just I don't know, each state has their different mentality. I think that's the only thing that I can come up with is that that anti-government mentality of the boomer generation has just continued on, and you can't tell me what to do.
So I don't do it because sure, Disney is the most magical place in the world, right? That's their slogan.
Mm-hmm.
But magic won't work with the virus.
No.
Right? There's no pausing, ignoring it, or not believing in it, right? That's
Right.
That just.
It's astounding to me, and really, I feel like a more hard shutdown at the beginning would have prevented a lot of these things. And mask wearing prevents a lot, and you can have a lot of freedom if you wear a mask, and are able to socially distance, keep 6 feet away from people. You can do a lot of things with that, but you have to do those things. You have to just, you have to give yourself a little bit of protection to engage in those freedoms. So
Yeah. This, from what I've seen and what you have obviously seen, because I feel there are many things that we are on the same side, because you know, you have different experiences, I have different experiences, but the way we're seeing the pandemic is very similar. And what I'm seeing is that the pandemic is not, it's not something for the lazy, it's not something for the spoiled,
right.
because it's not something that you just do for a couple of weeks or a couple of months and then you're like, okay, I did my part, let's forget about it, it's summer, right? You just gotta keep on doing it until literally the whole world is pandemic free, virus free, right? And then things can go to back to a normal or normal. And we just keep on seeing things in the United States that don't make sense. Like, I guess the communication there's a confusion in communication, right? One moment, like, you have the CDC that says something, and then you have someone from the government that says something else, then you have a governor that says something else. And it reminds me a little bit about what you were saying about the decision-making fatigue, right? You just don't know, who do you listen to, what do you look at, do you look at your community or your city or your country? And that makes it worse, right? It's just,
It makes it really difficult because we do have, I mean, the United States is such a unique place because we have each individual state that has their own autonomy to make decisions. You have the federal government that has a certain amount of power but doesn't have actual power over a lot of decisions. And then you have municipalities that also make their own decisions. So like in Anchorage, masks are mandated. In some of the little villages, there's no travel out. You know, in Kenai, there's, I don't know, there's like maybe like a handful of places that mandate masks, and other than that, you can walk in without a mask. And you know, and even like in Kenai, I just heard on the radio today that they're doing a big concert in August, with a beer garden and music. And I'm like, are you kidding me? What are you thinking? It just is astounding. It's outside, but still, like, that is like a breeding ground. I'm like, this is not necessary. So it seems like, yeah, each place is making their own decisions, but it and at a certain point, I know that people think, you know, well, I don't want the government to tell me what to do, but you know, if they do, then it takes away some of that decision fatigue. And it is an emergency. We do have our freedoms in this country, and but some freedoms would not without responsibility. With great freedom comes great responsibility. We've been told that all of our lives. And so, you know, we have to take those responsibilities for others' care seriously. And some of the best, one of the best things I've seen is a, uh, uh, a pastor presented his uh, Easter message, and he talked about you know, how important love is, and that a mask is a symbol of love, because I don't do this for me, I do it for you. And so in order for us to get through this, you know, we have to be loving toward other people, we have to care about other people, and not be selfish and not be self-centered. And that's what I mean, most people are taught that, you know, that you have to sacrifice a little bit, and I feel like that's important.